enterprises. Um, I'm joined by Mohamed from Gemeinsamer Horizont, and I myself, I'm Johan from Jobs for Refugees. So in this conversation, Mohamed will also like kind of represent migrant organizations and the perspective from that side, and I will be representing like the social enterprise Jobs for Refugees. Yeah, that said, Mohamed, I'm thrilled to have you here. Do you want to give us a short introduction, who you are, what Gemeinsamer Horizont does, and so on?
Yeah, thank you. First, thanks for everybody's here. Thank you for your time. My name is Mohammed. I graduated from computer engineering from Baghdad University, and I came to Germany as a refugee in January 2016. I lived in camps for 9 months, and during this time, I was a person that has been participating in a lot of workshops that have been offered by organizations for refugees, and after a while, there was some kind of frustration, and I thought that I can contribute to the refugee situation in Berlin by creating my own NGO or enterprise. And this is what happened. Me and a group of people from different backgrounds created our NGO, which is Gemeinnützige e.V. in German. And it's basically that the idea is to change the concept of, or redefine the concept of integration through education. We believe that integration is a two-way process. It's not should be done by one side. And that since 2018, we've been registered officially, and we've been acting since 2019 in different projects here and here. And since January 2020, we had two bit bigger projects funded by the Bezirksamt Marzahn-Hellersdorf. And basically, we're running two locations. One of them is a German Frauentreff, basically a place where women meet, exchange, learn, develop. And the other one is more about neighborhood place where people also can come, meet, do their own workshops or projects together. And this is why today me and Johan would like to see how can migrant organization, refugee experiences, migrant experiences, and how we can make partnership, synergies, collaboration in order to have more impact on the current situation, try to change people's life as much as we can, as fast as we can, hopefully. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I will also introduce myself quickly. I'm Johan. I work as an integration coordinator at Jobs for Refugees, which is a small non-profit enterprise founded in 2016, where we, I mean, the name is saying it all. Jobs for Refugees aims at supporting refugees with getting jobs and finding entry points to the German labor market. I also, like before I joined Jobs for Refugees, I also founded my own little social enterprise, Avenir, which also like aims at supporting refugees with labor market integration, but in that case through a social version of temporary work, of Zeitarbeit, where we use Zeitarbeit as a means to connect employers and refugees, with the aim that the employers actually hire the participants of the project. So basically trying to or using Zeitarbeit as a tool to support there. That's me. And I'm very interested in hearing about your experiences, Mohamed, because as I said, I've made the experience of trying to create like offers and programs that support refugees and kind of make things a bit easier with getting into work. And you not only have you also made the experience of founding an organization in Germany, but you've also made the experience of arriving here and you know arriving in the labor market in the in the German system. So like before we start with the actual talk, I would also quickly like to ask you like whether you could explain quickly how we found together, because I think that's also like interesting for the audience.
Yeah, actually, me and my wife are also, like, both of us are the founders, co-founders of this Gemeinsamer Horizont e.V., and she was a participant at one of your workshop, Job for Refugees workshops, that supports women in writing their CVs, preparing their motivation letter, how to apply online, how to create online presence through LinkedIn, Zinc, or whatever job websites are there. And she liked the way that you guys conduct the workshops, the enthusiasm that you have, the passion that you give. And then she came back and said that there could be a very possible collaboration between us and you as organizations, and because also we also focus a lot of development and Bildung in general in our organization. And that's how we had a couple of meetings with some of your colleagues regarding possible collaboration. And then your colleague approached Reem. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it. She was supposed to be the speaker instead of me. It's also very important to hear a woman voice in this, but unfortunately she couldn't make it, so I had to take her place. And then that's how our connection between Job for Refugees and Gemeinsamer Horizont came to be, which I'm very excited about, and I'm looking forward that we can launch something together. And yeah, that's how I get to know you also, which is a great plus.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, and I'm very happy that our conversation now is not a very theoretical one, but one that actually is part of a process where our organizations get to know each other and actually aim at creating something and exploring real possibilities for collaboration and where synergies could be. So yeah, I'm very happy that it's not just talk, but that we're aiming at doing something,
Yes.
which is, talk is good, but doing something is a bit cooler.
Yeah, it starts with the talk anyway.
Yeah. So when you came to Germany, you just said that you made the experience of being a participant of like educational offers in order to support you with arriving here, and that you weren't so happy with what you found. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure, yeah. Again, as a refugee, you came with a mindset, the way you lived all your life in your own hometown, where things are different. So you kind of need to find a solution of how to make your life better. And there are so many offers for refugees out there. Of course, all the efforts are being thankful. If we kind of sound a bit negative, that doesn't mean any negative connotation to any initiative, any NGO or any program. It's just the idea here to make things more impactful, more that achieve the goal. So I became a participant in many of these organizations. Of course, thankful to my English language, and this is one of the points that we might come to it later. It was a bit only for people who can speak English, and then you go there, you come back, you kind of not satisfied of the result, didn't solve anything for you. Sometimes you wait for a Beratung hour, like a consultancy hour, or you wait for a meeting with somebody, and it takes months and months. Because again, a lot of people came 2015-16, organizations were not equipped, doesn't have resources to fulfill everybody's like demands and needs. But of course, that creates a frustration despite understanding the situation. And I felt, and also my wife felt, a lot of refugees that I know felt that most of the programs that were offered were not kind of written well or provided well or being implemented in as fast as we demanded, of course, because we live in the camps, we need the solution ASAP. And that's how we believe that, you know, this is where frustration comes from, and we need to find a solution ourselves.
Yeah, and I think in during our preparation conversation, you also mentioned that your feeling was that the actual needs of the participants weren't really taken into account that well, but that it was more like a theoretical like approach, like where an organization assumes that the participants will need something without really like, you know, taking them in their, you know, meeting their needs in the end, you know. Is that,
True.
do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, 100% true. Because again, that's also organizations have in mind a solution that they think it should work, and then they create the solution, they apply for it, they got the funding for it, and they go to the target group, and then the target group looks uninterested, or this is not the needs that they are looking for. And that's really where also the lack of experience that comes from this organization. And because this is also a new target group that has different demands, different needs. And this also reminds me of something that you also, I think you also once mentioned, is that when you started your own workshops in Job for Refugees, how do you reflect on that? Was your kind of insight about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically what you just experienced, what you explained from what your experience was, um, like is that I was basically on the other end of that once, where both with Avenir but also at Jobs for Refugees, the first educational office we designed were very theoretical in a way. You know, we kind of thought, okay, what do people need who come here? Well, they need to, we believe they need intercultural competences in order to, you know, be empowered to understand, like play the system, you know, understand the system in order to know how to deal with it, so to say. And ended up like offering 2-week intercultural courses, intercultural training courses, which in the end didn't really meet the needs of the participants, because, you know, time, you know, with every feedback we got, we learned more that it's nice and friendly to be talking about different cultures and so on, but that it's not what people wanted, because they wanted much more hands-on support in, you know, how to find a job, where to look, how do the documents need to look like, where's job offers that fit, and so on, like interview trainings and what are the I don't know, labor laws in Germany and so on, like very hands-on things, and not like soft skills like intercultural competences. And so yeah, I think we both agree that that's a journey that was, perhaps it was necessary for a young organization, like, you know, for young organizations that were founded with a very, like, you know, a lot of motivation, but perhaps not such a good understanding of the actual needs of the participants. Yeah, I'm very happy that we, especially through the feedback from the participants, we managed to adjust our programs, and now we have, I don't know, you know, very hands-on workshops. What Reem also experienced, you know, with you know, proper legal advice partner who, you know, gives very concrete hands-on advice and so on. Yeah, so I'm it's kind of reassuring to hear your perspective in a way, although it's a bit saddening that it wasn't good from the start, but I think that's always a process.
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you talked about Gemeinsamer Horizont in the beginning, you said that like you kind of want to redefine integration as a two-way process. Is that connected to your experience in the like with educational offers in the beginning?
It was more about what is integration, because you take the integration course, you take the German course, you finish it. Are you integrated? Not necessarily. You found job, you're working 40 hours a week. Are you integrated? Not necessarily. Do you go out with friends, German friends, go out, travel, see the world, and do whatever, whatever? Are you integrated? Not necessarily. And this is, again, because we are talking about the minority of people who benefited and moved forward with, finding work, with learning the language, with everything else. But we believe in our organization that the majority are still kind of left behind. And people usually, when they want to draw a perception, they draw it usually on the other side, like, or one vision of what's happening. And that's what we wanted to know. We wanted to say is like, what is integration? So we need to redefine it, because it's not being German, because even if I become German, I'm not integrated. So what is really integration? And that's where our ideas or projects come from, is that it's not targeted to refugees. Our projects or programs are always targeted to everyone in such specific criteria. So when we do programs with youth, it's youth from every background: migrants, refugees, Germans, people who live in Germany for a long time. And through our projects, we'd like them both to understand each other, empathize with each other, face the problem together. In this way, they are all integrated to become one group that have the same responsibilities, same issues, and same problems, and the same solution. And this is what we mean by integration. So everyone participate equally, and not just some group of people have to be similar to the others, and despite that they won't be like the others. So it's more about finding a middle point, exactly what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds very nice. Do you, I like thinking about like modes of collaboration. I given what we talked about before about your experience and how we as an organization kind of lacked the perspective of the participants in the beginning. Like I think that's a very strong point for synergy where bringing your perspective into the development of programs actually means that that what we offer can benefit people more. Do you kind of when thinking about a collaboration, do you have like a concrete common project in mind? Do you have like an idea, like a concept note or anything in the back of your head, or is it more like a exploratory
To me, actually,
process at the moment?
when I'm talking about synergy or a collaboration or partnership, it's more about changing the status quo, not about a project, actually, for me. Because what the issue is here is, for example, a lot of migrant organizations have the insight, have the details, have the know or understand the needs and the backgrounds of the targeted group, but they don't have the bureaucratic background, they don't have the resources, they don't have the funds, they don't have a lot of things that they don't have. They cannot. So whatever goals they have cannot be achieved because the lack of all these resources. While other organizations that maybe like of refugees or others who might have the resources, who might have the understanding of administration, bureaucracy in Germany, can find a middle point. So to me, we talked about why the collaboration then it's needed. It's because when we talk about we need collaboration or synergy or partnership, then there's a problem that we need to fix through this collaboration or partnership. And that problem, basically, what I see it is always the status quo, how the system, the understanding, the bureaucracy, the funding, the challenge between civil society that we spoke about a bit is like, it needs to be more friendlier. It needs to be more to the point. It needs the understanding of the background of the target group and the understanding of the background of the organizations themselves. So it's more about trying to change the field so people can empower more, can impact more, rather than what is the project itself, because I think we have more of an institutional problems, and that's what the synergy needs to come in from innovative, because I think civil society also in Germany kind of lack innovation a bit. Also, not to criticize anybody, is just from my experience, and maybe this is only my experience, and this is what I want to come from. I want to come to change what we as a developer, web developer, we need to change the back end, not to change the front end. So we need to change how we work, not what to do, because how we work is where I think the most complicated uh, uh, um, uh, part of working in an NGO or a goal-oriented or purpose-oriented organization, because it's the as for example, I give you a very quick example. When I became one of the founders of Gemeinsamer Horizont and I became a project coordinator, I found myself lost 70% of my time in what is need to be done before doing it.
Yeah.
And then I find myself lost, not achieving the goal that I have been trying to do, and doing probably maybe the same mistakes or the same lack of urgency, because I am more invested in the back end. So that's where the synergy part comes in, is how we can change or develop or implement new strategies, so the back end or the building the bases will take lesser time, innovative, and become more about the goal rather about establishing how to do the goal, I
Yeah,
think.
and I think for our audience, it might be worth saying that the 70% back end work is like the NGO bureaucracy mainly, and the normal bureaucracy that comes with running any form of business or association, and of course the non-profit status, which takes especially at the beginning, a lot of energy to get through all the tax law that is involved, and like getting together like the one end of receiving donations or funding in any form, and then finding out how you can actually spend it, what you can, how to spend it, and what for, and what is allowed and what is not allowed, and so on. So it is a big pile of papers.
Yes. So yes, and that's again because um, if we can find a way, and that's why we think this collaboration and synergy is important. If we can find a way where we make it all about the goal, even if it's more 10%, right? It will impact people's life effectively, because we're still talking about thousands of people living in cabins, right? Thousands of people haven't yet finished their German courses. Thousands of people haven't found a job. And that's only Berlin. We're talking about only Berlin now. So the idea is the importance of the collaboration comes from the needs of more impactful solutions, experience from both sides, not to be one-sided projects for single target group. And that's where I think we, Job for Refugees, we Gemeinsamer Horizont, among some others, probably having their own virtual conferences now somewhere all around the world, talking about refugees and how can they be more impactful, and basically how to more amplify what our goal is and how we can achieve it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think thinking about our offers and so on, I would very much like to see your perspective on the concrete programs that we run. And I could like to make it very concrete. I could also imagine very well to write I mean, you said it's more about structural change, but of course I'm also thinking about concrete things to do, and that would be to develop a project together where we write a funding application where we actually kind of tweak the offers Jobs for Refugees already has through your lens and through your experience in order to make them even more needs driven, basically, and then actually having that kind of working together, like creating something together where both perspectives come in, because it's, I think, in our pre conversation, you said that you find it quite important to connect kind of the inner perspective, like the internal perspective of the migration experience, or the refugee experience, if you so want, and the kind of outside perspective of support organizations who are motivated and have goodwill, and know the German system well. And that's actually two things that cannot really go without each other in order, if we want to create like an impact that leads to a more equal society where everyone who lives here can kind of realize themselves in professionally, and unfold their potential the way they want to, right?
Yeah, I totally agree, because again, you cannot really change the back end unless you work together on the front end, and then you see, okay, this is what is needed, this is what is needed, this is what is needed. And through the collaboration and partnership, we both, and I mean MO and other organization contribute, okay, so this is the need, this is how it needs to be implemented, this is what needs to be done, and that's how we can change the back end. So of course, I think what you guys do is on hand, as you always keep saying, which I 100% agree with. And then we also kind of more on hand educational organization. And then through our collaboration, through other organization collaboration, like even Kieron now is just giving us this platform also to collaborate, is also kind of collaboration. And through all of that, we implement something, we look at it, and then we reflect, we assess, we evaluate, and then we start either grow bigger and at the same time change whatever needs to be changed from the back end. So I totally agree with you. Yes.
And one thing that, I mean, I'm just looking at the time, but yeah, like one thing I also find like that pops into my mind when thinking about our cooperation is the question of trust. I mean, I know from my own work that the kind of best indicator that your work is doing something right is when people start sending their friends to you, like, just WhatsApp messages popping up saying, hey, you've helped that person, can you help me too, I need this and that. But on the other hand, there's of course the challenge that we, as mainly white German, like socialized in Germany, and predominantly white members of support organizations, also are part of a society that created, or well, that's a bit too abstracted, that we're also just another support organization, and from the outside, someone looking for support does not know if Jobs for Refugees is any better than a job center project where they are forced to do things that don't really help, just so that they are out of the statistics or so. So I think the trust issue is very important, that you can actually kind of judge whether we are trustworthy in what we do and whether it's actually need oriented, and then people can kind of come to us with a kind of reassured that they're not just coming to someone, but that you as a migrant organization have actually kind of validated our approach through your lens. So, because
Yeah,
I imagine it extremely frustrating, by the way.
of course, because I hope that migrant organization aim for this too, as we are aiming, is that they really put everything clearer for support organization to make sure that everything has been explained clearly, because a lot of time, a lot of things lost in translation, and maybe you give something and people take it as a promise, but it's not a promise. You cannot fulfill, and probably that's what migrant organization, through understanding the culture, through understanding how people think. Like, for example, when you always ask for feedback, everybody just gives you a thumbs up. As it's like, yeah, this is cool, everything super, wunderbar. But it's not really the case. And that's where this is, I think, how trust is being built. And also, again, this is also part of integration. It's a two-way trust. It's not only Job for Refugees create something and they trust that people would be honest with them, and that should be the case. And it's not, that means that migrant organization are the judges of whether Job for Refugees or any other organization are doing good or not. It's a matter of collaboration to make things better, to make sure that Job for Refugees is benefiting from the experience, and the people, the target group, are benefiting from Job for Refugees. And that's just an example. And it's not about making sure, because it's not about judging. It's about making sure Red Job for Refugees doing their job. It's about making sure that everyone involved is getting what everybody should get. And that's the whole idea of the migrant organization, is that we're bringing maybe what is being missing, because now a lot of organizations also have a lot of non-European, non-Western, white dominance, but it's the idea to bring something new to the table, and that something new is probably what is needed to make more impact.
So much love for that. I like it very much that you kind of stress that it's not a question of judging each other or anything, but of creating something together. And I think that's also already, perhaps it reflects a bit why our collaboration can be very fruitful, because I think with your perspective that you've also like channeled into Gemeinsamer Horizont, where that it's really about doing things together instead of kind of a top-down approach. I think that's a very valuable perspective, and I feel kind of caught that I'm more in the kind of perspective of a support organization. Like I'm kind of like thinking more top-down, and my mode of thinking how we can work together is by a top-down checks and balances system, in a way, like us having a top-down approach on how we create our projects, and you having a top-down perspective on judging our work. So I think I also have to, there's potential for my mindset to be a bit inspired by your way of looking at things, because they feel much better.
We just did like a mental synergy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have basically a third dimension. Like there's So I mean, perhaps to wrap it up a little bit.
Yes.
Like from what I've gathered from our conversation now is that, like, on the one hand, there's the kind of content of educational offers where a collaboration can create more impactful solutions for the target groups, where the main question is bringing the perspective of migrant organizations into the creation of educational offers, I'd say. And then there's also the kind of bureaucratic or structural, like the back end question that, like a more established organization like Jobs for Refugees, who are, who've where we're writing funding applications and doing like the bureaucratic challenges of running an NGO, where it's kind of, you know, where we're used to it, and because it's daily business in a way, you know, that can kind of take a bit of the burden you've experienced. And then perhaps as a third dimension, the kind of mindset and view, the way of looking at things. Yeah, I think that's three very great like fields of synergy.
True.
Do you have anything to add at the moment?
No, maybe it's a really good time to also synergize with others who are kind of
Yes.
with us, right?
If I understood correctly, there's kind of three points of interest from your side. On the one hand, that Mohammed mentioned something about more fresh approaches to yeah, to educational offers, I think, or to the support offers. Then the questions of how to kind of move quickly and pragmatically in such a bureaucratic system in a way, and the third question, like how to interlink our work with environmental issues. Yeah. So Mohammed, do you have thoughts on any of those 3 points?
I will address the two first points with one example. I think I use the word more innovative rather than more modern, because modern means something else, especially for social scientists. And I mean, when Corona happened, we, Gemeinsamer Horizont, created a website within 2 weeks, coordinated 5 German Deutsch Nachhilfe courses once every day for 1 hour in 2 weeks. And we managed to launch right away in April, and our courses started like running and yada yada yada. And then we were faced with thousands of problems. For example, there is no internet in the refugee camps. Nobody allowed from the outside inside. We tried to communicate with a big organization, educational organization or institution. And when we created our website, we first did like a small research of how people use internet, and then we found out that our target group they like easy access to information or educational thingy. So when we created our website, it's called Gemeinsam Lernen. It was 2 click, and then you are inside our course. Other institutions, one of the biggest in Germany, they have to have 14 steps. 14 steps in order to get to their courses. Yes, their courses, of course, might be better because they are teachers, right? And they are like know how to teach and yada yada yada. But no, I think your target group would not do 14 steps in order to get into your course materials. And these 14 steps include sending emails, getting emails, and yada 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 yada. So this is one of the innovative things that I am talking about. It's not because everything from the other side has to go bureaucratically 100%. So everything we make sure to be documented, to be done the correct way, and then nobody participates. While in our courses, we have a kind of average participation weekly of 6, like in every course, 6 participants. And that's what I meant by innovative. And that when there's a crisis or problem or there is an issue, we have to solve it quickly. And now when we have done it, we are also talking about this before you guys joined us, is that you do it and then you start try to make it more sustainable to run further and further. You wouldn't get any funds for it because you're already doing it. And that's what I meant by innovative. That's an example of how bureaucracy versus innovation means. If that is a clearer example for you, I don't know if it's okay, if it's clear.
I actually, like, just to reinforce Mohammed's point, with my other project, Avenir, I had the kind of website put up online, and then I applied for funding, and they denied the funding because they said, well, you already have your things on a website, so it's not new. You're already doing it, and we only give you funding to start the project. But if you have the website, it's already started. So it's, I mean, you know, those are the challenges you have, and I think what Mohammed mentioned, that, you know, it's sometimes, you know, like finding a quick solution can be challenging, but you know, if you know the system and kind of have a bit experience in that, it also works to move a bit quicker. I think from my experience, we recently got a very unbureaucratic funding by a big international organization, for example, to provide people who want to take part in our courses online with tablets with mobile data that we can kind of borrow, that they can borrow from us for the duration of the course, which where I think one, or what I learned there is that sometimes things can actually move quite quickly when you've a trust relationship with donors who actually understand the needs of your target group, and when you have a hands-on approach that really is a no-brainer. You know, it's a no-brainer that it helps for refugees who are forced to live in camps and Gemeinschaftsunterkünfte with bad internet connection and expensive data plans on their mobile phones. It's a no-brainer to say, okay, here you have, I don't know, a couple of €1,000, just get a bunch of tablets so that people can do stuff online. But that's also something that requires trust and experience on both sides, in a way. Yeah, with the environmental topic, I mean, I personally I think it's important and so on, but I think in my work at Jobs for Refugees, it doesn't really play a role because we're kind of very focused in, it's more like a niche thing, like it's about labor market integration, not of everyone, but of refugees and newcomers in general. So yeah, I think I would leave that question out because it's a bit far off, unless anyone wants to add anything. I hope that by, for example, collaborating, collaboration between migrant organizations and even and support organizations like Jobs for Refugees, I hope that we kind of make good use of our time currently to create solutions and an attitude and an environment where changes changes through migration you know can be welcomed in a good way, in a productive way. Then also many thanks from my side, especially to you, Mohammed, for that fruitful conversation. It was a joy exchanging thoughts and perspectives with you. And yeah, I mean, I think I already mentioned that I will take a lot with me from that conversation, especially like kind of the mindset that you have, which I find very inspiring. So thank you for that. And also many thanks to our audience and for your interest and your comments. I would like to offer a last slot for anyone who feels that there's something that has not been said and has to be said before bringing our little session to an end. Is there anything that we've missed or that needs to be added? Mohammed, do you have any thoughts?
I just say that this is a very big topic. 1 hour wouldn't be enough, but I think we kind of covered the essentials of why, how, and what, and maybe we can start from there. And yeah, I think that would be enough for now. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Then thanks everyone. I hope you. I think I heard that everyone enjoyed their time, and everyone who wants to keep in touch also with one another, please just write your email addresses into the chat, Perhaps, Mohammed, we can leave the Zoom meeting on for 5 more minutes, so that people can collect the addresses. And then I would say thanks again, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you too, and schönes Wochenende for everybody.
Ja, schönes Wochenende alle. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.